guys, today I want to share 5 ways that we keep warm and dry during these cold and wet winter months. I know it's really difficult. If you live where we live in Washington State, it rains a ton. And so far this year, in the month of January and part of February, it's rained over 12 inches, which is about double what we normally get. So it's been extremely wet. So I hope somebody takes away something from this. If you do, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, please. And share around and leave those comments down below. And we try to reply to all of them. So we really appreciate that. All right, so here we go. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna talk about is your feet. Obviously cotton socks make your feet cold. This is a wool blend. This is called Smart Wool. I wear these. These are really warm socks. I have another version of these as well, but they help keep my feet warm. I'm a type 2 diabetic, so my feet get really cold really easy. So I am probably more susceptible to cold weather as far as my feet goes. So I only wear usually 1 layer of socks. It's kind of a Smart Wool sock, and then depending on how cold the day is going to be, will determine what I will use as far as my gear for my feet. We'll talk about that next. The next thing I want to talk about is your boots. Obviously, warm, dry, waterproof boots are essential for what we do when you're working in the rain and when it gets cold. It might get into the 20s to 30s where I live, but it's a really damp, wet, cold. If you know somebody that knows about the Pacific Northwest, they're gonna tell you, man, it's a different type of cold than you get in like Minnesota or up in Canada. It just gets you to the bone, man. So for me, I'm wearing a pair of Georgia boots today. I have one of those nice warm pair of socks on. These Georgia boots are waterproof. I really like them. I got them at Whistle Workwear locally here. You can find them at whistleworkwear.com or americanworkwear.com. Those are a great boot, Georgia boot. Another, when it gets really cold, if it's below 30 degrees, I have to wear a warmer boot. These are by a company called Refrigiwear. These are a really cool boot. It's called a BOA system. So you can just, to tighten them up, you don't have laces. You just lock this down and turn this, and it tightens up right around your leg and your foot. And that's how you tighten the boot. These boots keep my feet warm regardless of the temperature. It may not keep my feet warm, but it keeps my toes from freezing or so going numb so I can't feel them. So a nice warm pair of boots, these type of style boot work good for me. They're totally waterproof. I've been rocking these all month. It's February right now, so it still gets cold here, but not as cold as it was in January and December. Been really happy with these as well. All right, your feet are nice and dry and warm. What about these? That's a tough one. Sometimes I've been wearing these gloves called Wonder Grip. And Wonder Grip, they're basically a waterproof or water resistant glove. These ones are a winter liner, so they have a fuzzy inside. The problem is they can get wet. So these gloves are wet, and when they're wet, they're tougher to get on and off, which that's probably why I'm not wearing them right now. But the only issue I have with these gloves, now these gloves will keep my hands pretty warm. They still have some dexterity. You lose a little bit if you're running a lot of pouches and you need some dexterity to your hand. These might not be the right answer, but man, they do keep your fingers warm. The problem is, as they get old, like you get about a month, maybe you get a month out of them, you gotta take them and kind of pull them to this point off your palm, and then you gotta tug on each finger, and you can still have an issue with the inside of the liner wanting to reverse out. So after, I'd say 4 weeks, these liners start to try and pull themselves out, and then they're really hard to get back in. Sometimes I'm taking them and smacking them like that. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, if that doesn't work, then this would be my next suggestion to you. A lot of times we take rubber liners or PVC or vinyl liners, poly, I don't know, something or other. They're like doctor liners you go to the doctor's office for, you know. Doctor always wears these things, or your dentist. So we'll layer up. So we'll put one of these on, and then maybe a thinner nitrile glove like this. All right, and you can actually, if I pull tough on this, you can kind of see the nitrile glove behind it. All right, so even if this gets wet, your hands are staying dry. And it helps keep them warm. On really cold days, sometimes these lock the cold in for some reason, which is kind of crazy. But on more warmer days, when it's really wet and rainy, we always put a liner under our work glove, and that makes it bearable. All right, and so my last, if all of that is great, and it might work for you, it might not, and you still might have issues, my last suggestion for you as far as under the topic of gloves is heated gloves. So these actually are battery operated. There's 3 power modes: high, medium, low, off. And what I've been doing with these on the cold days where I just can't feel my fingers after an hour being at work, or maybe half an hour, or if I'm loading stuff in the morning before I come to work, my hands are already ice cold. I'll heat these up on hot, I'll put my hands in them, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're like warm. And it only takes like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then these go back. So I'll put these on, because obviously I'm not gonna get a lot of work done with this big of a glove, but I can feel my fingers, which is really important to me. So once these heat up and I can get the feeling back in my hands, then I usually fire these off, and I take these off, set them to the side, and then I probably would go back to my Wonder Grips or something like this. And then I'm good for a while. And then maybe in a couple hours, if I can't feel my fingers again, I go back to these, heat them up. I don't wear them all day. Now, if I had a job where I could wear these all day, I would. They'd probably wear out a lot quicker, but I'm using them as an auxiliary heat source for my fingers, which actually works very well. So these were a gift that DJ Studio Man got me for Christmas, and I don't know where he got them. They're 3M Thinsulate, and neat. I don't know if you can read that brand. Okay. And the battery, there's a little zipper right here, and the battery just pops out, and then you pull it right here, and then there's a charger. So I haven't actually had to recharge these yet. I've used them probably 6 or 7 times to warm up my hands, and because I'm only using them temporarily, the battery lasts a long time. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is your rain gear. This is more for dry, and it can keep you warm depending on the type of rain gear you wear. I wear a couple different types of rain gear. One is made by Arc'teryx. It's very expensive. You're gonna spend $600 for a coat and $400 for a pair of pants. They don't last forever, but they do work rather well. I don't have those out. And then another selection I wear in the winter when it's colder out, I really like this offering from Blocklauder. And here's their logo. It's a great company. This is a great jacket. On colder days, I might actually gear up and I'll wear this over my hoodie and I'll double up. But if it's not raining, I might keep this hoodie on and that hoodie off, that hood off. They make pants as well. I'm actually wearing a pair of Blocklauder pants. Now these are not waterproof, but they're great workwear. So just having the right workwear. I'm wearing thermals today with my Blocklauders, and then I have a Carhartt hoodie and a Blocklauder jacket. So it's plenty warm. If it was raining, this would keep me dry. This jacket, I don't know what it has. It's some kind of layer in it. I've had it for over 2 years now, and I'm still wearing it. I'm still staying dry. Obviously, rain gear is really important. Do your research. I'm a firm believer in you get what you pay for with your rain gear. Another thing, keeping your head warm and heat management through your head is really important. I have an issue with this. I seem to get really hot and sweaty, and then I'm pulling this off, and then it's cold and damp and makes it difficult. So I wear a lot of this style of headgear that covers my ears. And sometimes when you got this and a hoodie and a rain jacket on, you can't hear so well. But man, it keeps my upper section nice and toasty warm. I really dig it. Okay, so we've talked about gear and gloves and boots and how to stay warm and how to stay dry. Let's just say it's so cold out, it's freezing, your mustache and beard is full of ice, and it's just too freaking cold. That's when there's just some days where you just can't get warm. And that's when a heat gun really comes in handy. A heat gun can make all the difference in the world when you just can't feel your fingers and you can't feel your toes and you're miserable and you're numb, okay? So what this will do, you can fire this baby up and just ice out, you know, like maybe 5-10 minutes. Sometimes I'll take off my boots and I'll do my feet as well. You got to be careful though, if your feet are really cold and then you put 1,000 degrees to them, you can actually damage your toes, so don't do that. Just take it easy, back and forth. And part of the reason why your feet get cold is if your feet sweat, then you're absorbing moisture into the socks, and then they get cold because your feet aren't generating enough heat to keep all that moisture warm as well in your boot. So if you can either put on a dry pair of socks or get some of the steam out of them with one of these, at least get the feeling back in your toes, then usually I can go the rest of the day without any problems. I think there's only been 1 or 2 times in my career where I had to heat my feet more than once with a heat gun. And while we're on this section of heat, if that doesn't work, we also have a portable propane heater that we use. We can do 1, 2, or 3 bays with it. This just really improves the mood on a really dark, wet, nasty day. To have a heater like this, you can fire up, and sometimes we have a tent and that's all we have to warm up under. But on this project, we're lucky enough to have a little room that we can actually go in, fire up this heater, and it really improves our spirits, makes us feel better, and kind of keeps us rocking through the day. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's our top 5 tips for staying warm and dry this winter. We really appreciate you watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to click that subscribe button and leave some comments below. Let us know how you stay warm and dry in your region. And I really appreciate you guys subscribing. Thank you very much. Have a great day.